Today we're supposed to actually have a discussion in preparedness for tomorrow's elections. So we had lined up guests from INEC and EFCC and everybody, just to be sure that everything is going on well. But unfortunately, many of them are very tied up right now because it's just 24 hours to the elections, and many people are doing, it's really difficult to bring in our guests this morning. So because of that, we'll just wait for anyone who's available to talk to us. In the meantime, we'll move on to our regular Friday gisting topic. So I'll let BC establish one of the interesting stories we saw on social media. Go ahead.
Okay, so this person says, I understand how sweet this wearing of hobbies things can be. But unfortunately for me, I dare not try it because the level in which my hobby places values on material things is out of my reasoning. But at the moment, I have finally reached the end of my own strength. I've been married for almost 5 years, not even one day of happiness or one thing that I can remember he did for me except hurting. So not to talk of wearing his own clothes. I'm happy for those that are free in their husbands' houses.
So the conversation is really about how free are you with your spouse? And it's both ways. You know, some people marry into a rich, maybe a rich girl, you know, somebody from a rich family, and you feel intimidated, and every little thing you say, you know, could be misinterpreted or something. So you're constantly walking on eggshells around your family, your wife's family. You feel inferior when you're with them. You know, these are parts of, so it goes both ways. Same thing with some women. They are always careful. Sometimes they marry into wealth also, and they're constantly being reminded that they're the ones coming into the wealth. So they're always careful on how they do things. They don't want to, you know, overstep their boundaries. Is that, so the conversation really is, are you experiencing that? Would you like to share your story with us? It's one of the things we like to talk about on our show. You can call us on 0812-70536870, 0913907698. You can also tweet us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your view TVC so we can read your tweet. As I said earlier, we know many want to talk about elections, but unfortunately, many of our guests are not available right now. Hopefully, before the end of the show, one or two of them will be available, and then we can switch. But in the meantime, we'd like to hear your thoughts on the conversation we just want to start. BC, would you like to start?
Yes, so I've seen a couple of people who are not, in my own perspective, or how I can explain what I've perceived from them, so to speak.
Empirical evidence.
What I see in my front, I just feel like these people are not so free. Maybe the spouse, either the wife is not so free with the husband, because I'll notice how you would talk. In fact, I had a colleague once who would call the husband on the phone after work to sort of ask him what he wants to eat before she gets home. And then while receiving the call, she would be kneeling down. Yes, it was that bad. She would kneel down.
Oh, that's good.
I don't know. It was bad because later, after a few years, I realized that there was domestic abuse involved. Yeah, but then we didn't know. We just regular, so just been having after school, and then she would, hey, daddy, cake, daddy, yes, daddy, should I fry fish, daddy? And she's practically kneeling down, like I can feel the fear, and I'm like, okay.
Her husband be that.
I don't understand though, you know, and that also made me think maybe if the age difference is too much, this is my own opinion, based on what I have seen. If the age, maybe because of the age difference, then you want to put a lot more respect. You won't just be free to hit your husband on the head and, you know, call him some names, and you won't be free because of that age difference. And it sort of made me scared of older people, because I would feel, I beg, if I cannot look at you. I'm just telling you now what I feel. If I cannot look at you.
Older man, so tread carefully.
Yes, no, I'm telling you now, I'm coming from somewhere. So when you see other people and you see how things change, you're not like, okay, it's not about the age. It's not about this, it's not about that. Let me jump
to Mariam for a second. Because I just realized that the truth is that because your husband is older than you, older than you, did you feel that need to be very respectful in the beginning, you know, be careful what you say, how you say it, especially with his peers also, and his friends? Because if you're a Yoruba girl now, you're likely to call his friends Uncle this, Daddy this, or Mr. this. You're really careful not to disrespect them. But how did you feel that sense of getting into him and, you know, being just free with him?
It's him now. He came down and toasted the babe. How would he? Did he expect me to greet him, sir? And no, that didn't happen. I think that's even the easiest. But you brought up something important, which is his friends. you know, they're not dating me, they're not married to me. Of course, I'll give them the respect that is accorded them, their age, their status, and I do that. But I remember one time in the beginning when I would want to call someone maybe Mr. or Uncle, he'd be like, no, he's not your uncle. Please don't call him Mr. that, you know. So that was sorted. I think my husband is a bad example for this sort of conversation because we are very... Let me put it this way. So when I dated before my husband, the kind of people I dated were, you know, if they were young, but they were quite mature for their age. Okay. My husband was the opposite, which is he's older, but he's quite youthful and quite playful.
Yes.
So I feel that I've always sort of been, even if there's different age, it was still the same sort of thing where I'm looking for someone who does not take themselves too seriously. And my husband is that way. So it's not about age really, but it's about how you carry yourself and what you perceive to be the way that you should relate with your spouse. Because I have seen people who are even younger, much younger, who still relate to each other that way. I've seen men who are young men and they demand, the ego is...
So much respect.
I'm like, what's happening here? The ego is like this, high up. I am, and they did not have it. I mean, I'm talking about people that you would know before they got married, who seem easygoing, and then the moment they get married, they're like, but I am the man of the house. But I am the husband in this house. And you're like, what is happening here? How did you get to this point? And if you look at it, usually it's maybe what they saw growing up. That, okay, maybe from their own families, their own parents. That's how they related. You know, the man is supposed to be the beginning and the end of any conversation that happens in this house or any decision that is taken in this house. And so it's somehow forced. But also I feel that in marriages like that, there's no friendship. Because how do you insist on being so egotistic in a loving relationship,
Let's come back to this lady here, because what she was saying is the fact that she's unable to be free enough to wear her husband's boxers or clothes. You know how you can just take your husband's shirt and just put it on?
My darling.
That, first of all, he's too consumed with fashion, obviously. The man is very, very consumed with his stuff, his own things, my things. So that could suggest high-end, marrying somebody who is possible, or somebody who just likes fashion.
Yeah.
Like
it may still not be Morayo. Some people are quite difficult to deal with. Yeah, it has nothing to do with, they may even come from the poorest of homes. But because of their inclination to material things, this is mine, don't talk. So yesterday, for instance, we're going for tennis. I and my husband, we play twice a week. And I'd run out of my tennis skirts. So I just looked and picked his own shorts. And I'm like, brother, can I wear your shirt? And he said, okay, you can have it. And then he went to look for something else to wear. So I wore his own complete gear yesterday to play the game while he looked for something else. This woman is saying it's not possible. It cannot happen. So it could also be that this person just feels, you're a woman, I'm a man. My things should be sacred. No, but like my kids wear my husband's outfits. Like he tells me he doesn't have anything in that house. He's the one renting the house. You know, my son will just go into the wardrobe and he's the same size with his dad. So he wears his dad's shirt. He will pick boxers. I'm always fighting. I can't differentiate whose boxers is this anymore, you know, in the house because of how free he is. But some other guys will look at him and say, what is wrong with you? Your things should be sacred. Your wife should be able to keep your things sacred and just separate yourself. You are the man. You should they should respect. But he feels this is me bonding on different levels with my family members, you know?
That particular story, going back to that particular story, for me, there are two parts. The first part came across as funny to me until I read the second part, which is this is someone that is hurt, and she says this person hasn't treated her well in the 5 years. But if we were to look at just the first part, I would have said, you know, there are different kinds of people. I don't know if it's called it difficult people. They're just different kinds of people. There are different kinds of, you know, things that works for them. Like me, I've heard my friend talk about sharing toothbrush with her husband. I'm like, no, never.
Disgusting.
Exactly, or sharing boxers. I'm like, But I understand to wear a shirt. The shirt I wore on Wednesday was my husband's shirt. I looked at him, I was like, looks better on you. I said, I know, I told you. You know, so there are some things that will be normal for me, but there are some, I won't go as far as, other things. And there's another one I feel is important, and this is because I had it a lot growing up in my own house, which is my mom would say to me, don't wear your parents' stuff. There should be respect.
Oh.
So for me, I understood that. But I have children that will wear my slippers because I have a son that believes that he wears the same shoe size as I do. But, you know, it's something I keep. I make it a serious issue in my house. You don't wear your parents' things. You must show that respect. My husband will say to me that when his father was alive, he had a special chair, a special dish, a special cup, and nobody dared to sit on that seat. But he's so disrespected in his own home. People sit anywhere on any chair. They don't realize that when he enters that someone should get up for him and sit on a particular chair. So we don't have that. But I think different levels. So in this case, it's quite playful. But in her own case, it seems like a serious problem.
Let me go back to what she was saying, because she was saying that happiness, not even for the first 5 years, not even one day of happiness. One thing I can remember that he did for me without hurt. So this is somebody who is enduring a marriage. So the conversation now is, I would like us to go to is, a lot of women are enduring. And it's because they don't want a broken home. They don't even want to be one of the numbers of, the statistics that this amount of women are this, they left their husbands, whatever. So they are being very careful just to endure. They are managing the enduring situation, hoping that at some point, maybe a light bulb effect to happen and he changes over, or something happens that, because some wait for children to come, bring a bond. Others wait for a great job to come. Maybe if he gets a better job, he'll be happier. Maybe if we relocate to Canada, to America, things will be better. You know, they find that one thing that will make things better. So let me come to you, BC. Do you think somebody who is very unhappy, the first 5 years is very unhappy, do they have any chance to make it better, or should they start thinking of leaving? Is it too early to think of exiting, do you think?
So I've heard stories where the first 5 to 10 years were hell for some people, but they stayed through. And after 12, 15, 20 years, it became better. They will say the man now finally came to his senses. They were willing to wait that out and see how this man changes. So that depends on who you are as a person. That depends on what your priorities are. That depends on how you would enjoy your suffering in hopes for a better tomorrow. Not everybody has that capacity.
Right.
And not everybody should have that capacity. So you need to check yourself and ask yourself, which capacity do I have? When I was getting into marriage, I told myself, I am not here to carry a cross as husband. The cross that I want to carry is the cross the world will give to me. And two of us together will face the world. It's me and you against the world. That's what I'm here for. But you giving me cross inside the house, I will not take it. I had stories of, mothers telling me what they went through. In fact, family members, they will say, but that's how it is. So even that time, we do this, we do that. I will just bear, that's marriage. I told myself, it's not for me. I do not have the capacity to finish one burden that I've just gone through, that God has just saved me, and enter another one, okay? So depending on your capacity, for some people, what you call suffering is not suffering to them. And if you are really suffering and you've had it up to here, nobody will advise you on what to do. You know what to do, so do it.
Let me take this call. I've been holding for a while. Good morning. Are you there? Joke?
Good morning. Good morning, lady.
Hello, Joke. You're live. Go ahead, please.
Yes. My own advice is that either you're a man or a woman, you should marry your friend, whom you will be free together. Because when one is a Ogam, one is a Omodo, I don't think it's good like that. Thank you.
Thank you. So she's advocating that you marry somebody who you're close friends with. But we found that friends marry together, and once they enter that marriage,
it changes.
The ball game changes. So both of you are buddies before marriage. You do things together. But once you enter, there's something that just reminds the man that, okay, he's in charge. And that this friendship thing must begin to have levels. Because, yes, I can be your friend, but let us change the level. Respect yourself. Because especially when they start seeing all their friends being respected, or they go out and people expect it of them, and the gate man is opening doors, it's you he sees, not seeing your wife. Society reinforces it in different ways. So you now remind you, I am in charge in this relationship. So that's your buddy, don't buddy here.
You're right, but there's also another thing that happens, and I see that quite a lot. If in a group of, in a group of friends or family, you're the first to do something. Everybody has an opinion on how you should do it. They've not gotten there yet. Ha! You mean you wash plates and your wife is not? This person that is not married yet. You mean you take care of baby, you change diapers? Me, it can never happen in my house. When I get married, this is what I... And when you usually are the first in a group, you're thinking, oh, I'm doing this wrong. These people must be right. Then what will now happen to you? When they now get married, you will now do it differently. You're now wondering, like, see what I put this woman through, or this is what I put this man through. Meanwhile, and then they would now justify it and say, we did not know then, but now we know better. So,
let me go.
Okay, we're going on.
We'll be right back. How comfortable are you with your spouse? As I said earlier, we're supposed to be discussing preparation towards the elections, and once our guests come in, we'll definitely switch over. We're waiting for one more guest to come in. So going back to this issue of preparedness, you were saying something before the break. Okay, now let's take the angle of the fact that what society does. You know, so this woman right now, I want us to go back to this woman's issue. She was just complaining that I can't even wear clothes. So she's almost, I don't want to say trivializing it, but she's bringing it down to the basics. I can't even wear his clothes. And there are women like that. The food you eat, the plates you use, people complain. The fact that they are nagging you in the house because they want you to, they're forcing that respect, that you must respect me. You know, they're insisting on it. A woman like that, what do you do? How do you seek for help? Do you counseling? Or what do you do to get to the point where you are free? So yes, it was tough coming into this marriage. Maybe the circumstances where you came in was not friendly like maybe others. But now, how do you get to a point where things are softer and you can now become best friends with him?
So in fairness to a lot of men, some of them do not even know what they are doing, in the sense that it was what was modeled to them, what they saw their fathers do, their grandfathers, their uncles. And so in their mind, this is how I am to be if I have to be a man and have my authority respected in the house. And so they carry on like that. You see, we are usually...
Let me pause you for a second.
Yeah.
We also saw our mothers being very respectful, accepting and submissive.
Yes.
But we have somewhat modified it.
Yes.
Yeah, we still submit, but we are also finding our confidence and who we are. So we have two Rawabi.
So let me tell you the difference. Women, because this is biology now and hormonally, we are more prone to change than men. Men usually, you will see a man who is this way. Come back in 10 years, he hasn't really changed. Even if he changes, it's just a bit. Because they are more stable in their biology than we are. Anything can change us. Our hormones can change us. Our period can change us. We are the ones that are usually running from pillar to post to seek for solutions when things happen. We are the ones that will gather in church to pray for the household. We are the ones that will go for seminars to learn how to satisfy our men. How many men do you see run like that to get those things that will change? How many men do you even see sit down and pick up a book to read? How many men have been noticing it? Most of the time is women I see that are more open to learning. And they would even tell you, the spiritual people will tell you that women are even more connected and closer when it comes to... So,
let me take Esther and I'll come back to you. Okay. Esther, are you there? She's been holding for a minute. Esther? Esther from Ikoyi, you're live.
Yeah. Hello?
You're live. Go ahead, please.
I can hear you.
Okay, good morning. I want to contribute to the topic.
Yes.
go ahead.
Yeah, like the first caller mentioned, that women need to marry their friends. Yeah, that's okay. I agree with that. But don't forget that at times when you marry your friend, along the line, that friend will change while you're in the marriage. But I think what the women need to do is that they are the ones that need to change. They need to see how they can make that marriage to be a happy one. You understand? You need to adjust themselves. They need to be...
Esther is saying the burden is on the women to adjust themselves and change. We get that a lot. I mean, that's I have to, unfortunately, I have to learn the segment because I'm told our guest is on now. But this is a conversation we might have. Still Friday, and you know, as I said, today we're supposed to discuss more of the preparedness towards elections. Most of our guests are quite busy today. Everybody's doing the last-minute checks. We're trying to get at least one or two more guests before the show ends. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for them, we'll continue with our conversation about this woman who's trying to help her, especially because she feels she's choked in a 5-year-old marriage, and she's already given up. Saying, congratulations to those of you that are able to, but she's still here. Yeah. So that goes back to those of us that are enduring. I mean, how much of endurance do you endure in 2022, 2023? Should we still encourage women, or is it okay to allow women to endure if they choose to endure? Why do we condemn those who choose to endure?
So I was trying to answer the question initially, and I said that sometimes because the men do not know any better, they have picked up what they have seen from either their fathers, forefathers, uncles on how to be a man, and they bring it to the home. And you know, that was when you said, what about the women that change? And I explained a whole different reason why women would change faster than men. But the thing I've realized is sometimes women are not happy about something and they will not communicate. So we work based on assumptions. So he should know that I don't like this. He should know that I don't like the way he's speaking to me. He should know that I don't like the way he shouts at me. He should know that I don't like... He should know. Human beings are not wired to know what you are thinking per time. In sociology at the time, in school, they told us that the mind is not open to direct apprehension by the observer. It's when I tell you that this action of yours is making me feel this way, that you will sit down and try and get what I'm saying. So I think a lot of women have not mastered the art of communicating in a way that the man understands. So it's not about when you are upset, you say, I don't like the way you treat me. I don't like...
Auntie, let me punch
Sit
that.
the way it's first.
Let me punch
Let me land what you are punching now.
You don't land that point. The point you're making is that women don't communicate. Some women don't communicate.
Some
and I'm telling
don't know
you
how to.
That there are women who are told, find a nice time when he's in a good mood, when you're in a vacation or he's smiling, and then try to find that time. That's the time you start talk about it. And you do that. And the man that is on this page do a 3 full 60 and you get a slap. There are situations like that. So we don't, the Oyinbo blueprints of nice how to communicate doesn't always work for us in Africa, because there are people...
Wait, you still did not let me land this point.
Please.
Communicating doesn't necessarily mean you have to find a nice time when he's not a god, where he has to be very happy for you to bring up some things. There are non-verbal communications. Women just don't have mind to follow through on some things. There are non-verbal communications that will make a man understand that this thing I'm doing, this woman is fed up, without even you saying a word. So you need to learn the kind of communication that works for him. That nice time is not for everybody. It's not for everybody.
It's important to say that, because there are lots of people who think...
Go the extra mile as a woman if you're having some things that displease you in your marriage, to learn how to better communicate that I am not having this anymore. It's either we talk about it or everybody carry their leg.
Okay, let me just respond to that, because I would say that in my own opinion and my observation, I would actually say that women are better at non-verbal communication than proper communication. And we have been told, stop with your non-verbal communication, because verbalize it, say it in words, because we cannot guess what you're non-verbalizing. We cannot guess why you're turning your face to the other side or sulking around the house if you're not talking. So that's for me in response to that. But generally, I feel that if you're in a marriage and the other person is not in the marriage to work it out with you, then I'm not sure if you're truly in a marriage. You cannot be the only one suffering in a bad marriage. A bad marriage is because both of you have decided something's not working and we want to make it work. If you're the only one that's hurting, if you're the only one that's sad, if you're the only one that's also trying to take the steps to make the marriage better, then I'm sorry you're in that marriage by yourself. It's not a marriage. So when people say, so how long should it take someone to... As long as the other person is showing the same interest and concern for this team or this unity to work, then I think you can say as long as you're both working together to make it work. But if you find that every time you bring up a topic or you try to solve something and the person pushes you aside, then I'll just have the conversation. You know what? It just seems like we're in two different worlds here. What are we doing here?
Some people are comfortable going through that workout for years. For them, it's more important that I stay in this union, manage this, manage that. I have the strength, I have the heart for it, because you're not just managing this person. There's family angle, there's community, there are children involved, there's extended family. So you're like, you know what? If I'm weighing the options, my happiness is good, but I can find happiness elsewhere. Let me maintain this struggle for the sake of this thing we have built, so that the children are happy, the family is happy, you know, there is a united front. Some people have that perspective.
And we also have to understand that there are different kinds of marriages. And what I mean is that spouses have different expectations of their marriages.
Right.
There's some people that my husband not communicating with me or saying anything to me, where I have to worship him and provide for him, is the best kind of marriage for that person. And anything else would seem like too much. Yes. So I would not judge that person based on, you know, watching how it's playing out. But we'll say that if whatever type of marriage you find yourself in, are you happy in that marriage? You know, so to say, and I'm saying this because, you know, we're saying some people are doing it for how long they have to wait for their children. For some people, it may not be a problem until you have that conversation. So if you have that conversation and you're not happy, I am the sort of wife that I want to cater to my husband. I want him to, when he comes back from work, I'll do his feet, I'll lay the table for him and make sure the bed is laid. And then the husband I've married is in the kitchen struggling with me, counting how many meat is inside the pot and whatever. And you find that that person is upset and she will complain to someone and says, I don't understand, my husband is counting the number of meat we have inside the pot and trying to outdo me with the cooking.
Right.
And if she's not having that communication with that person and he too is not understanding her, that is where there's a problematic marriage.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.